Hello, listeners. Welcome to Season 5 of the Sales Problem Podcast. Now, this season, you'll notice a change. My co-host with the most, the great one, Steve Comerford, will not be joining me this season. But I wanted to publicly thank Steve for his contribution to the show over the past 40 episodes. Steve, you are a true pro, and your insights, great questions, and always entertaining banter have made this podcast great. You will be missed this season. Now, listeners, the show must go on, so let's dive straight into our first guest for season number 5.
Sometime.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, not 20, 15 years later, whatever, I'm pulling it out of GoDaddy and saying, I like that. I think I'm going to go under what's really possible because that gives me more flexibility to talk about new things that are more of interest to me now. But sales is in my bones. It's who I am.
Welcome to the Sales Problem Podcast, where we talk everything sales, success, and personal growth. Thanks for joining us. Let's get growing. Welcome back to the Sales Problem Podcast. This is Season 5, Episode number 1. That's right. We're kicking off another amazing season, and here is what we're going to give you today. Do you want fresh strategies that will help you get more sales? Do you want to become more agile in your selling? Do you want to speed up your sales and win more business? Of course you do. I want that too. Our guest today, Jill Konrath, is going to be dropping insights to help you succeed in your sales career. I'm your host, Daniel Burns, and this is the podcast that helps shift you from sales problems to sales opportunities. I want to help you grow your sales and grow yourself. So I bring on the very best guests from all around the world so that when you drive to your next sales call, you get sales lessons and insights from thought leaders and industry champions that are going to help you create your best version. And as always, I have got my Sales Problem Podcast mug filled with none other than our podcast partner, Crank Coffee. And I'm going on the road tomorrow. That's right. I've got a 5-hour trip to see clients, to see one of my sales reps. So what am I bringing with me? 2 things, our podcast partners. I've got Fifth Gear by Crank Coffee in my cup. It's season 5, so I got to crank it up to 5th gear. And, of course, Mama T's protein cookies. So if you don't want to stop and get some type of junk in the car, you're trying to be healthy, 24 grams of protein in this cookie. Nice little sweet treat that's both nutritious and delicious. And, of course, if you just want to support the podcast, click the link, as always, in the show notes. Type in the Sales Problem 15. That's going to give you 15% off both those items. It's going to get shipped to your door. So before you make the next sales call and you want some protein and some caffeine, click the link. And that, my friends, is the business. So let's get to the focus of our show. We've got Jill Konrath on the podcast today, and I'm so excited. Let me tell you a little bit about Jill. Jill Konrath inspires positive change in an evolving world. Her newest book, Pivotal Moments, The Springboard to New Possibilities, was just released to high acclaim. In it, she shares strategies for uncovering hidden opportunities and creating an upward spiral in your life. Today, over 1/3 of a million people follow her on LinkedIn and read her newsletters, of which I am one of those people. Yay. She also has 4, that's right, count them, 4 best-selling sales books. She's spoken at global conferences and has been hailed as the #1 LinkedIn sales thought leader multiple times. What an absolute rock star of a guest we had to kick off season 5. Jill, are you ready to solve the sales problem today?
I am.
Oh.
Are you ready for me to do it?
I am ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
So lots of things are changing for season 5, Jill, but we can't change the original question that started the podcast. And originally the sales problem question is, how do we get growth year over year? All salespeople face that. We have a good year. We have to get even better. But I'm always interested when I bring guests on. What do you think is the biggest sales problem that's facing either salespeople or teams today?
Okay. I let me just start by saying I have had to take the word problem out of my vocabulary.
Yes.
Because problem doesn't get you anywhere. And the brain, when it hears we've got a problem, the brain shuts down and you're less able to find creative solutions to what it is. And you talk about opportunities. I talk about challenges. Okay. We have challenges because when the brain hears the word challenge, it goes, oh, a challenge. And it starts clicking in and things start to connect in the brain. So that's the first thing that I would say is that we don't have any problems. We have challenges that can lead to opportunities.
Love it.
And I deliberately changed language because I understand how positioning things can affect your ability to solve the challenge or to create a new opportunity. So anyway, that's, my grounding. We have a challenge here. And you ask what it is. I mean, what I'm hearing from some of the people that I'm talking to is, people are having to make more calls to make their quota. They're having to have more leads, more marketing, more. And so we've got a group of people saying we need more. We need more, just more. It's like the word, and because the statistics on it are going down, in terms of are going up. You have to make more calls in order to reach your quota. You have to give more proposals. You have to do more. And I think that's a real issue.
Absolutely, yeah.
Am I talking your language? Yes.
I'm picking up what you're dropping for sure. More of everything. Yeah. We're trying to do more to get more, but how do we do less and produce more?
Oh, you want to go there first? That was a later question. How do we do less? Okay. Let me start out and tell you a story, okay? And this is from when I was in sales, and I'll give a little overview of my career and what I've done, but I started out as a high school teacher. I went into sales with a company called Xerox. It isn't such a big deal anymore, but it had the best sales training in the world back in the day. Yeah. And then from there, I moved into starting my own. I moved into technology sales. Yep. Because I thought technology might be important in the future.
Good insight. I think you're on the right track.
I think and then ultimately I started my own company and primarily I did new product launch. Okay. Because product launch was to me the most fun because it was all new all the time. And I would go into different kind of companies. I would, be working with somebody that sold automotive things to, for cars. I would work with Medtronic and they had heart pacemakers and I went in and saw surgery on pigs to see what they were doing with bypasses. I worked at 3M with their group that sold printing plates. Yep. I've worked with United Healthcare, which had services. I mean, I have been all over the world. I'm not all over the world because this is primarily my product launch was primarily in the U.S., but it taught me a whole lot about dealing with these different issues. So that's my background, but I'm going to go back to when I was at Xerox. Okay. Because that, that's kind of it relates to the more question. Okay. I had a territory, and a geographic territory, made lots of calls back in those days, all cold calls, knock, knock, will you see me type of things, Yep. And then if they were interested, they'd have to come and see a demonstration in a suburb that was, 40 minutes away. So they didn't really want to that much, you know? Yeah. So anyway, I was in talking to my manager. We were doing our monthly review. And he says to me, Jill, we've got a real problem here. You are not meeting your quota of calls and demonstrations and proposals.
Okay.
And I said, I know. Yeah, that's right, Maurice. But I'm the number one rep in the branch right now. Now, isn't that interesting?
It is.
I am not meeting my quota, but I'm the number one rep. And he said, you need to do more. You need to do. I said, Maurice, my territory's far out. People don't want to come in and see demonstrations, you know, and this and that. And he said, Jill, you have to. I said, why do I have to? He said, because your numbers are taking my numbers down. And the team, he was being evaluated on the team's cold calls, proposals, demonstrations, and everything. Never mind that I was the number one rep. I was not hitting the quota. And that's the more, you know, you need to do more because we have a quota and we have to make these numbers on activities.
Ooh.
And I didn't say it to him at that point, but what I wanted to say is, Maurice, you should be looking at what I'm doing because I am making fewer calls than anybody else. I'm giving fewer demonstrations. And it's what I'm doing when I'm with the customers or prospective customers that's fundamentally different. I wasn't going on script all the time. I wasn't doing the pitch. So anyway, that's...
you were getting more by doing less.
Yes. And I actually wanted to write a book called The Lazy Salesperson at one time.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, I had a lot more time, you know, free, and I was enjoying it. And I was highly successful, and people should have been saying, "What is she doing? That she's successful making less?" But again, we had quotas. We had to meet demos, proposals. Anyway, that's my story.
I don't know where to jump in because so much of what you said excited me. First of all, Jill, okay, we've got a lot in common here because my first sales job was photocopiers with
Really?
Pitney Bowes,
with what company?
not Xerox, but Xerox was my big competitor, right? Right?
Pitney Bowes.
My first branch manager was named Maurice. So, so we've got
You have got to be kidding.
No, and I agree 100% that was, I call it sales school. And we had that, and we had Larry Levine on the show, and he sold copiers too, and said the same thing. Like you learn so much by doing that.
Oh my God.
But one of the things that I loved about that industry was, because I had never had a sales job before, was the opposite of your experience. What they said is, if it's the middle of the month and you've reached quota, you can choose. Do you want to keep working? Do you want to not? Like, I love that freedom. And I thought, this is the best job I've ever had, where somebody's not going to watch over me. But you're right. There's also the metrics and people's activity
the metrics
gets measured.
I mean, I think at that point I was 185% of my quota, you know, for the year, you know, but I had to make more.
Yeah. And I would suspect then, Jill, that your closing rate was much higher than anyone else in the branch. If you
probably had to be, although most people I didn't close very often. Most people would say to me, "How soon can we get this?"
Yeah. And that,
you know what I mean? That's different. So that meant I was doing something in the meetings that were getting people to come to me and say, "How soon can you have it delivered here?"
That is a sign of a real pro. Is when the customer asks you and you don't even have to. You just slide the paperwork and we're ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing you brought up is the change in words. I really love that problem versus opportunity versus, you said, challenge. And I had a great manager that taught me that lesson. And he said, you got to remove that word problem, because people get all tense as soon as, like, oh, I've got a problem. It's like, oh no.
Yes.
right? And we have to
Yes.
learn to select language that's going
Yeah.
to produce a different
Yeah.
result. So
hmm I had no failures ever either. Ever.
always learn
I
something.
had valuable learning experiences.
I love it.
Yes. It kept me going. You know, you have a fail. It's like, oh, you just want to sink down and die. But okay. I mean, I fainted on a sales call at one point in my career.
Really?
Yeah.
What else? I think you
I,
had more there, didn't you?
well, let me just tell you this, how I fainted. I mean, I was a new rep and I was actually a trainee at Xerox when it happened.
Okay.
And I had read a book over the weekend about how to sell. And it said, you should be dealing with the final decision maker, the big boss. And I had been in talking to this company, and Tinsy was her name. She was the administrative assistant to the president of the company. And I read that book over the weekend. I went, oh my God, Jill, you're really screwed. You're not dealing with the top person who can make the decision. So on Monday, I called and I set up an appointment with her boss. And couple days later, I went in and I was waiting in the lobby, and Tinsy comes down to get this person who's meeting with her boss.
Yeah.
And she says, Jill, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm here to see Mr. Big. And she gets right in my face. And I'm in the lobby with about a dozen other reps. I had a short skirt on too, because they were popular then. And she gets right in my face and she starts swearing at me and yelling at me and telling me, I told you I was making the decision. And she's just, I mean, my mother didn't talk to me like that when she was mad. And this woman was just all over me, and I passed out on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Something I'd never done in my whole life. And I'm laying on the floor with my short skirt, not appropriately. And I know. And ultimately I came to, and she helped me to a chair. And how are you doing? I said, I'll be okay. And she said, okay, you leave and don't ever come back.
Ooh.
Now I'm a trainee at this point. I'm thinking, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. And I got in the car and I cried a little bit and I went, well, Jill, that was a valuable learning experience. What did you learn there?
I love it. I love it. We used to have a question they always asked on the podcast about train wreck moments. So I love those where you go in and a prospect just hits you with something, or things explode. That's kind of the fun of sales. And I love your stories, and I'm sure that's why people read your books, is because you've got all kinds of colorful stories.
I got a lot of stories, and I'm not afraid to tell people that I screwed up. A lot of people who write sales books are pounding their chest about how wonderful they are.
Yeah.
And I chose not to do that. And I can explain why later.
Well, I can't wait. Let's dive straight into your new book, because you've released Pivotal Moments, the Springboard to New Possibilities. So our listeners are going to get the latest insights. Talk to me about what the premise of the book is, and what are the insights for somebody listening today that you think are important to salespeople?
Well, I'm already telling you some of them. Let me just show that this is my book.
Nice cover.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. The frog was from my very first company. When I first started consulting, my company was called Leapfrog Strategies.
Oh, nice.
Because I worked on new products, like I said, to help me get off to a good start. So I was so excited to be able to bring it back, because I
love it.
switched. So it's fun. Anyway, what is it about? It's about turning points in your life. I give a pivotal moment is when something happens and it requires you to think, what direction do I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And am I headed the right direction? And it could be like you hit the wall and you just went, I'm done. I've had enough of this. I'm not excited about this job anymore. I'm not excited about this. I've had enough.
Yeah.
I've had enough. And I think everybody has experienced some of that in their lives in different shapes and forms. And the second part is when you're jolted out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're happy, but I'm sorry, we're having a layoff here. We're downsizing here. We're downsizing. And suddenly what was isn't anymore, and you were happy there, which is the hardest part, or reasonably happy. Or relationships break up that you weren't expecting. That's a jolt too. I mean, there's a lot of things that are really different jolts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how do you handle to me, it's how do you handle these things, and how do you sometimes recover?
Yeah.
But sometimes the other way is you have an idea. How do you turn your idea into reality?
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes just you just got to do something different. And somebody says something to you that either ticks you off or changes your perspective of who you are as a person, even. And I'm just writing an article right now that I'll be publishing on LinkedIn and in my newsletter about a man who I met twice in my life. And this is shortly after I'd started my training company. And he was a friend of a friend who was co-officing with me. So I just barely met him, and I'd out for lunch that day at a local restaurant, coming back, and he was coming across the parking lot. And actually in the article, I call him Bob, but I have no idea if that's really his name because it was so long ago. And he says, "How's it going, Jill?" And I said, "You want the truth?" And he said, "Yeah. Yeah." And I said, "Well, I just started my training company like 6 months ago, and I hate what I'm doing. I hate it. I am bored, silly doing the same program over and over. And it's a good program. It's highly effective, but I am bored, silly doing it." And I said, I learned things fast, and once I learned them, I want to learn something different. And he looked at me basically and he said, "Jill, you don't understand. What you have, I'm an HR consultant, and what you have is what companies are looking to hire. Somebody who can quickly come in, absorb a whole lot of information and turn it into something useful for the organization." He said, "That's your strength."
Yeah.
And it was like, my strength. I'm thinking, oh God, Jill, you're going to die. You don't have a future. You get bored so easy. And it just shifted my perspective that what I thought I was bad at, I'm quick at learning, but bad at staying with something. I had to rethink what I was. And that's when I went into product launch. So it was all new all the time.
Yes.
And I was in heaven. But it's all because I ran into, I think his name was Bob, but I can't be sure. And he just said that to me out of the blue.
I think that's incredible.
Changed my life.
Yeah, I think that's incredible how one phrase can something clicks. And then all of a sudden your perspective shifts. You've reframed and you go, "Oh, I see something new where I wasn't seeing it."
Right. Yes. And I'll tell you one more example of somebody who said something to me that changed everything for me. Okay. I told you I was a high school teacher, hating it because I was teaching the same thing over and over again. And the school had curriculum, and you had to follow the curriculum. And I remember saying, "But I've got ideas on how to get kids more engaged in the class. And I've got ideas on how," "No, Jill, we follow the curriculum." Okay. So I tried to get a job, and this was out of teaching, but nobody would hire me. And this was when women didn't have a lot of different opportunities. And I was just rejected after rejected. And a friend of mine told his father, "Jill," I was his old girlfriend, "Jill's looking for a job." And his father was the vice president of one of the big banks in town.
Okay.
And his father said, "Tell her to come in and apply here and talk to me. She's got a great smile. She'd make a wonderful teller." And I'm going, "Excuse me? All you want me to do is smile at these men who come in?" And Hi, I'm so glad you're here today, Daniel. And I'm thinking they're hiring 22-year-old boys right out of college who, don't know diddly shit. I'm sorry,
okay.
diddly squat. And I've been teaching for 4 years. I know how to run it, do all this. Anyway, when he said that my smile, I literally went, I'm done. I'm going to start my own company. And I spent months in the library studying what somebody with my limited capabilities but a good smile could do. And and I actually found a really good idea. And then I studied how to write a business plan.
Yep.
And then put it together. I roped in some people to go into business with me, and we went and presented our business plan to this group called SCORE. And in the United States, it's a government agency of retired executives that help young companies with their business plan and, help them, give them advice over time, even if you want. So we went in, the three of us, and he looked at our business plan and he said, this is really a good idea. And I it was selling relocation services to companies. I discovered two statistics. Number one, for the first time ever, companies were having trouble relocating executives because their wives were now working at jobs that they felt were important.
Okay.
Number two, statistic two that came together is for the Minneapolis, St. Paul, where I'm from, had the 5th or 6th largest corporate headquarters in the U.S.
Okay.
So I went, oh my God, that's happening in my backyard.
Yeah.
And I can put together a company to help with the relocation services, not a realtor. I wouldn't sell property. But getting a family located was always a new puzzle then. And the guy from SCORE at the end, said, I really think you guys can make it. And then he looked at us and he said, now, which one of you three is going to be doing the selling? And that wasn't in the business plan. And I leaned forward with an angry look on my face and I said, I thought you said it was a good idea. And he said, it is, Jill, but somebody has to sell it.
Oh, I love it.
That's how I got into sales.
Amazing. I think we could be here 2 hours on this podcast because I want to take a little tangent and talk to you about ideas because, again, Jill, we've got a lot in common. I have so many ideas, and then getting them to reality is, it's so much fun. But I want to pivot a little bit, and talk to the.
Are we having a pivotal moment right now?
This might be a slight shift to our listeners who I know there's somebody listening to this, Jill, that's on the road. They're going to a sales call or, they're trying to improve themselves. That's why they listen to the show. When I did my research on you, it said practical and tactical, not a lot of hype. And I thought, okay, I gotta ask her, can we give our listeners something that they can use that's practical? Sure. What's your favorite thing that you teach sales-wise that you're like, that's my go-to, that's going to work for most people if they put it in place?
Because you asked me some other questions before. All right. The biggest thing that I would say to salespeople is if it's not working for you now and you're being told to do more, I think you need to start experimenting and trying different things. Yeah. Because to me, experimentation is how you find out what works. And if I was looking at a team and a leader of a team, I would say to create a team experiment and to say, we've got this script or whatever, and we're all sending emails that look like this. Let's see if we can get better results. Not more, better. Let's try it. And then have the team work together to come up with a better approach and to figure out these things. And what I want to do is get people's brains clicking. Yeah. That it's not just going out and, hi, this is Jill Konrath calling. I'm a rep from XYZ Corporation, and I'll be in your area next Tuesday. I'm wondering if we could get together. I'd love to tell you about XYZ, about what we're doing in this thing. I mean, that's boring. Gets deleted all the time. Yeah. Nobody gets excited. So what could you say that would pull people in? To me, it's an experiment. I mean, no failure. We have experiments, and we're going to try to see what works best and share it on the team, you know? And I think, I mean, that's just, I'm talking right now about getting into a meeting, but what about the questions you ask while you're in there?
Mm-hmm.
What questions are working, you know? And it's not, what are you using right now and how long have you been using it? And do you have any plans to replace it in the upcoming years? You know, I mean, to me, that's boring. And I mean, to me, as a buyer, and the other thing that I teach people is you have to sit in your buyer's shoes and you have to listen and hear it from your buyer's perspective. It's not enough to think, oh, this is really good. You know, I like this email letter, but this email that I want to send out. But if you sit in your buyer's shoes, a busy buyer who's got a lot of stuff going on that day, or a chemist, or a heart surgeon, the printer. I mean, I've been with all these different people. They don't care about all that stuff. But if you can do something that captures their interest and talk with them about what matters, it really changes everything. But it's an experiment. It's not a failure. We're trying something new. We're going to try to see if we can find ways that you can make fewer calls and get better results. But I would engage a whole team and I would make it fun. Let's try. But before they try, I would say, let's try it on each other and let's take turns, and you listen as if you're Bob Smith or Carolyn Jones, from XYZ company. And how does it sound? Yeah. How would you answer if I asked you, what are you currently using? What would you answer? If I asked you, when are you thinking of replacing it? How would you answer? If I asked you, what would make you consider a change? Would you get a different answer? So how you word things can lead to a whole different answer and a whole different discussions. And so to me, it's a function of experimentation and making a challenge out of it in a game and upping everybody's thing by pulling them all in. That's what
I love it. So listeners, right now you're driving to your call. So here is the challenge. Are you going to go through that door and do the same old thing, saying the same things that you plan to say, or are you going to take Jill's advice and experiment a little bit? What you made me think of when you were talking, Jill, is exactly what I did when I was selling photocopiers. I had all kinds of ideas. And what I loved is there were so many doors. Like, it didn't matter if you fell on your face in one because you're going through the next one. So why not try something? And
exactly.
That didn't work. Or that did work. What did I say? How did I say it? And then,
and they pay attention. Well, that worked. Let me try it again, right? Yeah.
The other thing you made me think of, Jill, was that I think some of the best insights that I've got is in that team environment and asking other reps, what are you doing?
How do you do?
Yeah. Well, what are you doing that I'm not doing? And sharing all those things and like, I never really, could I do that? I don't know.
Let me try it.
Let me try it.
It's not what I'm doing right now isn't getting all that great results. So I might as well do something, try something different.
So it kind of leads to the next question I was going to ask you about fresh sales strategies. Obviously, we want to change things up. We want to experiment. But do you find that there are some companies and salespeople that you run into that outdated things is still, hey, it's my go-to. I'm still trying to, use that same tool. I might not be getting, the results I got 10 years ago, but I'm still, I'm still out there doing it.
I know it. Yeah. I'm pounding the pavement. I'm doing my job. Yeah. There's a lot of people like that. There really are.
Yeah. What would you tell them in terms of a fresh sales strategy? Is there anything you like that freshens it up for people?
Well, I think it really depends on what you're selling and to whom.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the answer. One thing that I've always found helpful, and again, I did all this product launch stuff.
Yeah.
And the things that I did with product launch, sometimes my clients had beta tests with their with their products and they put them out and they had certain customers testing them doing that.
Yeah.
And to be able to go out and get them to interview the people who were trying to, doing some of these things, or the people who had just switched from X to Y to find out, how is it different? What results are you seeing? What impact is it having? How is it affecting this? How is it affecting that? To me, that's collecting the real value of it, as opposed to, hi, I'm Jill Konrath. I work with XYZ training company. We specialize, blah, blah, blah. And that's what most people do when they start out. We specialize in, and, we've got some new products that I'd like to show you in case you're interested. But if I could call you up and say, Daniel, I've been working with a lot of other sales organizations in your specific field. And one of the issues that they're really running into and have been talking about lately is how to shorten the sales cycle. I've got some ideas you might find helpful. Can we set up a time? Now that's a whole different approach than I'm I've got some sales trainer who's been in this business for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'd love to show you our training program in case, you're thinking, to me, it's about playing with it, looking at what the business value of your product or service is. I mean, I'm from the business to business world, where business value is important as opposed to how my shirt looks on me when I make sales calls. I just think you just got to play with this stuff and experiment and try it. And you never fail because you're trying something out. I mean, to me, that's the most important part, because you'll find it if you'll try. And if you work with others and try to get their intelligence, what they're doing,
One of the things, Jill, that I'm hearing that I really love is just how much enthusiasm you have in your voice. And when you were talking about experimenting, like, to me, that's engagement. And it sounds as you're talking, like you love sales, like I love sales. And I hear the excitement in your voice. And I can't understand sometimes how people are just out there doing the job the same way, doing the same things. And it feels like, to me, I don't know if you're engaged or, are you still loving sales? It's a good question to ask. Maybe a pivotal moment for people like, hey, are you still loving sales, or are you just coasting?
Am I coasting? I've been through some pivotal moments, and just a quick synopsis: my husband died, my mother died, and my father died all in a short period of time, and it just wiped me out.
Wow!
It was like, and that's what took away my what I was doing. I had to stop and say, what do I want to do? And it took me a while to really find out, and that's when I started What's Really Possible. And believe it or not, I gotten that domain in 2007. I don't know why, but I thought I might use it sometime.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, not 20, 15 years later, whatever, I'm pulling it out of GoDaddy and saying, I like that. I think I'm going to go under What's Really Possible, because that gives me more flexibility to talk about new things that are more of interest to me now. But sales is in my bones. It's who I am.
There's so many similarities here, Jill. I just paid for new domains that I've never used. It just popped up in my email. Yeah. Hey, we're going to renew this. I'm like, still haven't used it.
No, I know. Like I said, mine was 2007, and I didn't use it, forever after. I mean, it was like, but it's an idea, and I have no idea, but it feels good when I buy these domains.
I hear you.
That's funny. I tell people I have addictive domain disorder, ADD.
That's great. I never heard that before.
You got to write that one down, because you've got it too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I want to pick your brain on, because this was just, I was thinking of things, personal interest. I'm wondering about the company story. Like, I love storytelling. I love when it's part of selling. I don't think there's enough moments necessarily all the time where you really get to do a lot of storytelling. But I want to get your opinion on whether you think it's important to a buyer, especially a busy buyer that has a lot on the go. Is telling the company story a value creator if you do it right Or is it like, no, throw out the garbage, skip
Boring.
it, like, or
Well,
is there a way maybe that people are just not telling it in an impactful way? Okay.
I think it's a different answer than what you just suggested.
Okay.
I mean, I think the story is boring. Most people, our company was started in 1964, and we had the first patent on XYZ. I don't know. You can go down all these paths. I think there are different stories, and to acknowledge that there are different kinds of stories is important. Like, you need a story. If you're reaching out to a prospective customer, you need a story about why they should meet with you.
Yeah.
And it has to do with ideas that you might have that can help them reduce, eliminate, speed up, But that's the getting in the door story.
Mm.
So that's one. But, the other thing that everybody sits with is, we're reasonably happy, with what we've got. It's not horrid and we can live with it for the rest of our life. But, so you have to have a why change, And that's for, like, when I was saying, when you leave a message, I've got some ideas on how you might be able to shrink, eliminate, speed up,
Mm-hmm.
reduce. So you've got a story that's related to your value proposition, and that's important. The other decision that if you look at it from a decision point, okay, so they decide we're going to change. Now we have a different story, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're thinking about changing and they're looking at you and your competitors. Why, the question then becomes, what do you have that your competitors don't have? It's really being able to differentiate yourself from the other options that they have. And finally, there's the why now, why should you, because I could keep going with what we have, but then it gets back to what's the value proposition and what's now type of thing. And to me, that's real important too. Why now? You got a lot of other stuff going on in your company. This will disrupt you for a while.
Yeah.
It'll take you. Do you know what I mean? It'll take you down, and you'll go, we can't, do it right now. Maybe we'll wait till the first of the year when we got money in the budget, and except you're paid by end of year. You get a bonus at the end of the year, so that doesn't really fit into your plans, does it?
No. I like that. Why change and why now? That's practical. That's tactical. That's asking the questions that really matter to the buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's also, you can't just have, let me tell you about our company. Do you want to know that I started in business in what year and that I've spoken in companies around the world and blah, blah, blah. And you don't care, do you?
No.
You got work to do, and I need to be able to talk with you differently.
Okay.
So
I love your perspective on that. Another blog that I read was all around asking tough questions. And that one
I love questions.
that one popped into my head. I said, I got to talk to Jill about this. The question I've got is, why do you think salespeople just shy away from asking those tough questions? And what are the ones that they shouldn't avoid, that are like, hey, start doing this today, tomorrow, the next day, because that tough question, you gotta ask it.
Well, and I can't answer what the tough question is because I don't know what I'm selling here. So,
okay.
But everybody, if they're afraid, it's really, is there business value? Can they see the value of how what you're doing might have an impact on what they're trying to accomplish? To me, if they don't see the value of what you have, you're wasting your time, or you have an opportunity to try something new and say, oh God, I must not have explained it very well. I take ownership of it. Not that they're stupid, sometimes I get going. And if your people are in meetings with people, like physical meetings versus just on Zoom and stuff, one of the things when I had reps working for me, they did something physically. They did something which changed the dynamic of the call. Okay. And they had no idea that they were doing it. But I'll give you an example. So, I'm in meeting you and I say, well, let me tell you a little bit about our company. And then lean forward like this. with their brochure. And and they'd lean forward. And you know what the customer or prospective customer would do? Lean back.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating because the minute, and anybody can watch it if it happens. I mean, if you lean forward and it's not a customer that you know and you've worked with for a long time and I got to tell you all about this, their automatic human reaction is to create space.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How about the tough question? Like the two that came to mind for me, and I think of like, have I been guilty of it? Yes, absolutely. Competition. Like you think you got the deal all to yourself, but it's a tough question. Should I ask? Are you evaluating other companies, or should I just, I'm not going to ask it because if I ask it, it might
they might start
them.
looking.
Oh, should I be?
Well,
right. But I've got caught.
So how do you?
But I've either got deals and not asked it and thought I was good, or I got caught going, I thought I was by myself.
Oh, yeah. So how could you ask that question so it's not quite so, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to play with that, I would probably ask more about their decision process. And when you make decisions like this, how do you usually do it? And how do you evaluate? And where are you in the evaluation process? And I could ask it that way. But if I throw in competition, but again, I can focus on the decision process. When you make these kind of decisions, what's the typical process? And again, I would also ask who else is involved in the decision, because, depending on what you're selling, there may be a team from multiple different parts of the organization, and you might have to pull the team together.
Yeah.
And say, based on my experience, Daniel, unless we get these people in early, it's going to prolong everything, and you may get some people that are saying, hold on, don't go.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been part of the thinking about it. So you can organize a team, in terms of say, let's, or based on my experience working with other companies, these are the 5 different positions that need to be involved. Let's get these people together. And you help them expedite the decision.
Love it.
And your competitor won't be doing that usually.
Love all the little nuances in your words. It made me think of, we had Lee Sauls on the podcast, and he said, doesn't say,
he's a neighbor of mine.
Oh, no, he said, I never say competition. I always say the other players that are there.
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
like, you know what?
Nice,
I'm going to steal that from you, actually.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Love it. So I'd like to talk about the multiple books that you have. And what I'm curious about, because we talked about ideas, and I get lots of ideas, you get lots of ideas, but how do you go from that idea of, hey, I think I see something here in the market. I think salespeople are going to have a need for this. Maybe you've experienced it yourself too. Oh, now I've got a best-selling book. I've written all this content like that. Walk me through that for you.
All right. I'll start with my first book.
Yeah.
The same process. I can explain quickly the others, but the first book kind of says it all. We had a recession. I had 2 big clients, and I was booked out for 9 months with them on new product launches. It was really fun. I mean, I had all these projects, and I was so excited because they were all different divisions of these companies. It was really fun. 9 months, and both of these companies came under pressure from Wall Street at the same time. And Wall Street said, "Thou shalt deliver better earnings." And somebody like me, who was an outsider consultant, just like that, 9 months of no work. And they said, "Hang in there, Jill. We'll be back. We'll be back. Hang in there. We got to launch these things. Hang in there." And as things started picking up, the company got new leadership at the top, both of them. And all my relationships were gone because they brought in new people. and so I had to start prospecting for business again. And I hadn't been prospecting for a long time because I had these great clients a number of them. It just kept pulling me in. So I started prospecting, and what happened is that nobody called me back. All calls rolled to voicemail. Nobody returned my email messages. And I thought, oh my God, Jill, you're over the hill. You've lost it. And I got sort of depressed. It's like, what just happened? I really felt bad. And then one day I started going to some meetings to network because I needed to get work. And you're laughing. Anyway, I discovered that I wasn't the only one facing that problem. Everybody was. And so once I realized it wasn't me who was over the hill and had lost her touch or anything, I went, oh, this is a challenge. And then I started experimenting. And I started getting new clients. But I had to experiment with a lot of different things in terms of voicemail and emails and whatever to make it work. But I discovered a methodology that worked. And first it worked for me, and then I had to take me out of it and say, what is the process here? And so my first book was called Selling to Big Companies because it was for small and medium-sized businesses like me who wanted large corporate clients, because you didn't have to keep chasing clients. If you had a decent corporate client, you could be passed around. And it was just, So anyway, so I decided I had to write the book because I had figured out a way to do it. I took myself out and figured out what is the methodology that I'm using, and sat down to write the book. And as I sat down, I have a book that I'd read during my time off. It wasn't supposed to be my time off, but it was called The Highest Goal or Your Highest Goal. And it said, before you sit down to do any project, ask yourself, what is my highest goal? Okay. So I'm sitting down now. It's January and I've got 3 months in front of me with no work, but I have a book contract. So that's my work. Okay. So, so I'm just sitting down and I'm ready to go. And oh, shoot. I forgot to ask that question. So I said, literally my hands on the keyboard. I said, okay, Jill, what's your highest goal on this project? And I immediately answered, to teach small and medium-sized businesses how to sell to big companies.
Really?
Because my book was called Selling to Big Companies. And a voice in my back of my head said, no, it's not. And I just sat there. It was like, what do you mean that's not my highest? I mean, something was telling me that was not my highest goal. And then the voice said, your highest goal is to make people feel that it's possible.
Oh, love that.
And that's a whole different goal. What it meant is that in the introduction, I talked about my business failing and thinking I was over the hill and had nothing left to offer and, what was wrong with me. Because that's how everybody else was feeling. And then I, everything that I had learned, I had to tell what I screwed up first. And when I finally thought I had the perfect voicemail to get somebody to call me back, I called myself and left a voicemail. And then I listened to my voicemail and went, oh my God, I'd hang up on me. So it's like, and I'm telling these stories in the book because it's small and medium businesses who aren't salespeople. They don't know how to do it. And they're terrified, especially me coming from a place that had great training. I had to show my humanity. So that's kind of behind all my books. They all are make people feel it's possible, which means I'm sharing a lot of things I've learned along the way. But my second book, Snap Selling, came because a client of mine, a large insurance company in St. Paul, I'd done a big project for him, and Bill, the guy who was the VP in the area I was working with, said, Jill, give me a call next week and we'll get going on the next phase. So I called him next week. Nothing. Called him the week after. Nothing. Didn't return my call. I mean, we had just had a good project together.
Yeah.
And finally, after a month, I finally sent him an email and I said, Bill, I don't know what I've done to offend you, but please accept my apologies because it wasn't intentional. I'm sorry. He got back to me within 30 minutes and he said, oh, Jill, it's not you at all. It's not you. I am so crazy busy that I can't, I just am swirling.
Yeah.
So snap selling, I wrote, I had to study. How do you work with crazy busy people? And how can you get through to crazy busy people? And SNAP is an acronym. You got to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be focused on what really matters to them and what's invaluable to them.
Yeah.
That's the value proposition. And A is for aligned with their business goals and what they're trying to achieve. And P, I forgot what P is right now. It's been priorities.
Yes.
What are their priorities? Yeah. But I had to study it. I had to work it. And so I wrote about what I learned about how to sell to crazy busy people.
Love it. Love it.
And then, oh, you don't want the rest of my 2 books?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. The next book is Agile Selling.
Yeah.
And I saw so many people that were struggling getting up to speed in a new job. And being somebody who always worked new jobs, I actually had a process.
Okay.
And, when I would get hired by Medtronics to do a valve
Mm-hmm.
and, for surgery or, like I said, the printing presses,
Yeah.
it was all these different companies. I had a methodology for how to get up to speed fast if you take a new sales job.
Yeah.
And so it's about how to do that.
Okay.
And I just wrote that because nobody knew how to do it.
Yeah.
It's like everybody was, but that was something that I'd mastered. And then my final book is More Sales, Less Time. And that's me being absolutely overwhelmed by everything that's going on and how I worked to get more time in my schedule so I could have life too. And again, it's experimental. I use myself as an experiment the whole way through all my books. So
that's what I
pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Huh?
I
pivotal moments started with my pivotal moments.
It sounds like you've had a lot of pivotal moments too, and taken those and said, okay, there are some things I'm really strong at. There's some things I've had some failures at, but both are going to generate ideas that other people are going to find useful because we're all human. It's, it's not just you that goes through struggles or challenges. And it's not that, just you that does these things. Lots of other salespeople are listening right now and doing the same things going, she's talking about me. She's talking about me.
Yeah. I am.
What came up for me, Jill, when you were talking was I had a coach that said, and it really floored me. I never expected him to say this to me, but he said, you're not dreaming big enough.
Whoa.
And I thought, whoa. I hired a coach. I'm dreaming here. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
You're playing
not being
way too small. You should be up here and, you're keeping yourself here. And I went, well, I've never even looked at it that way. So talk about a pivotal moment. And it sounds similar to what you're saying.
Yeah. When somebody tells me that my worst characteristic is my strength, I mean, it floored me. So
I think I know the answer to this question, at least from my perspective after spending the last 57 minutes with you, but I'm going to ask it anyways, because we said in the intro, 1/3 of a million people follow you, read your blogs. What do you think is so kind of viral or infectious about what you're doing and why people are saying, I want more of what Jill does?
I'm real and I'm not boring. I mean, and I tell stories, I tell stories I'm constantly getting ideas for what I can write about and, different things I want to do. And it's all trying to be helpful to help other people be good. My intentions are that. Yeah.
I get that. I would have said very authentic. And then as I went
Mm-hmm.
through kind of researching, bringing you on the podcast, some of the titles, some of the stories, some of the narratives,
Mm-hmm.
I was like
Mm-hmm.
right away, click, because I wanted to read it.
Mm-hmm. And I think of titles, what title would pull people in. I'm always thinking about, I don't know, if I'm going to write it, I want it to be read.
Yeah.
I know that.
Absolutely.
But
Jill, I got to ask you, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, or have we covered everything?
Just about everything, I guess.
Amazing.
Did you have fun?
I've been having a blast, and I can't believe I bring people on, and there's so many similarities, and there's so much that I learn from people. So it makes it fun for me. Can you tell our listeners, Jill, where's the best place to connect to you when they listen to this and they want more? Where do they go?
Well, let me tell you two things,
Yeah.
okay? Number one, my website that I'm working on today is what'sreallypossible.com, and you can share that. It doesn't have an apostrophe because it's a website.
Okay.
But when I left working primarily only in the sales field, I have a website that they can go to, which is my name, jillkonrath.com, Konrath with a K. And I have all sorts of free resources there that you don't even have to sign up for. You can download them and have fun with it. I mean, it's all these ebooks, how to write an email, how to do this, how to. Yeah. And it's free. And no, you don't have to worry about me bugging you or anything. Just have.
That's amazing. I'm going to put all those links to your books, to the websites, all in the show notes. Make it easy for our listeners to connect to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Wonderful. I just want to do a quick little recap, Jill, because there's so many things that I've heard. Thank you so much for your time. I just want to highlight it for our listeners. Some of the phrasing that you use, challenges instead of problems. I love that shift. Experimentation. Hey, listeners, are you out there on the road experimenting? Pivotal moments. Are you listening right now and there's something happening in your life that you might describe as a pivotal moment? I'd go get Jill's book. And do you need to reinvent? Is there something next? How do you spring forward with that? Why change and why now? Are you asking that maybe of yourself, maybe of your customers? Authenticity is a word that has come to my mind as I've heard you speak, Jill. I really like your stories. I like that you talk about things that aren't all rosy and glowy and perfect, because I think that's how we learn.
Life. Yeah.
And it leads me to failures are only learning. And lastly, it's possible.
It's really possible. Really is.
Well, thank you, Jill. Today, you have helped us solve the sales problem. You've gave our listeners some insights that they need to thrive and succeed. You've helped them grow by enhancing what they know. Listeners, I love you. I appreciate you. Click follow. Keep tuning in. This is season 5, and it's only episode number 1, so there's more to come. So until the next episode, just keep creating the best version of you.
Nice.